Sometimes in the wrestling business, the build-up to a match can be just as rewarding as the match itself. Storylines, segments, and even Twitter wars can help hype up a match in order to excite the audience for when the competitors actually meet in the ring. However, sometimes the end product fails to deliver, so here are 10 matches that didn't live up to the hype. The Hardy Boys are one of the most famous and popular tag teams of the Attitude Era. The duo had a ton of fans, so when they broke up, WWE of course decided to pit them against one another. Jeff Hardy was betrayed by his brother during a match against Edge at Royal Rumble, causing Jeff to lose his title. This led to a no DQ match between the two at WrestleMania, where fans hoped to see the Hardy Boys showcase their technical abilities in the ring. Instead, we saw Jeff carry the match, which resulted in very few memorable moments and very little tension. At WrestleMania 27, John Cena was set to face off with The Miz for the WWE Championship. The build-up to the match wasn't bad, but it was building up something totally different. Tension between Cena and The Rock was at the forefront, while The Miz felt like a third wheel. The actual match itself was also a bust due to a lackluster performance by Cena and an absolutely terrible yet predictable ending. When the match was declared over after a double countout, The Rock restarted it, only to rock bottom Cena seconds later, handing Miz the win. This will go down as one of the worst WrestleMania matches in history. Brock Lesnar vs Seth Rollins at Battleground 2015 was among the most one-sided matches in WWE history. Seth Rollins was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion and was put to the test against Brock Lesnar, a man being touted as unstoppable. The build-up to the match was actually really good, with some great segments, and it was supposed to be an awesome match given the abilities of both competitors. Instead of having Brock actually wrestle though, the match consisted of an endless barrage of German suplexes. Neither got to show off any real in-ring abilities, and the match had an abrupt ending that allowed Rollins to retain the title. The year-long hype for the once-in-a-lifetime match between The Rock and John Cena wasn't all that great, but the second time around was even worse. The Rock pulled off the win over Cena in the one-and-done match, but apparently that was all a lie, as the very next year the two faced off in a rematch. Just like the original, the promos were solid and entertaining, but the hype was slightly dampened by the fact it was no longer an exclusive match. Also, everybody knew Cena was going to win. The final nail in the coffin was the absolutely horrible display by both competitors. The match consisted of nothing more than finishers and finisher reversals by both men, resulting in a terrible match. CM Punk and The Rock are regarded as two of the very best on the mic, so it's no surprise that the pair cut some truly awesome promos before their match at Royal Rumble in 2013. Punk was the reigning WWE champion, but when The Rock returned, he wanted the belt. The match had a great feel going into it. Fans were very excited. However, the match is where things sort of fell flat. The two worked decently together, nothing spectacular, but the ending to this belt was a slap in the face to fans. The Shield came to Punk's aid and helped him win the match, but once again the match was restarted. The Rock then proceeded to overcome all odds and defeat Punk. What a poor way to end a legendary title reign. Anytime you have era-defining superstars go at it, you're sure to have a massive hype train. The match between Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 2005 was hyped beautifully, and the feud felt raw and personal. What should have been a great match instead turned into a joke. See, Hogan refused to work any more matches against HBK after SummerSlam, which clearly rubbed Michaels the wrong way. During the match, HBK made a mockery of the Hulkster. Michaels oversold every move in hilarious fashion, which effectively changed the match into a comedic act rather than a bout between icons. Hogan did pull off the win in the end, but regardless, you seriously need to watch this hilariously bad match. The culmination of one of wrestling's best storylines, Sting vs Hollywood Hogan for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship at Starrcade 1997 was supposed to be one of the biggest matches ever. Sting was firmly against the NWO, and over the course of an entire year, he had built up a great feud with Hogan. It was a huge event, and even featured Bret Hart as a special guest referee. Anyways, the actual match was absolute trash. It was super slow and boring, it was extremely short, and Hogan simply refused to job to Sting. Instead, we got a crooked referee and a salty Bret Hart, who restarted the match after Hogan cleanly won, which ultimately ended with Sting victorious by verbal submission. It was just so bad. After a few less than stellar matches between the two, Triple H and Randy Orton renewed their rivalry just in time for WrestleMania 25. Randy was the dark, sadistic Viper, while Triple H was also quite the badass, which somehow worked really well with Orton. The revived feud was soaring at new heights and had great heat going into Mania, where it was the main event. However, the match suffered from two fatal flaws. First, it followed an amazing match in HBK vs Undertaker, so the crowd had extremely high expectations. Second, the match was a regular match when it should have been no DQ. Now, you could make the case this was a result of bad booking, but you could also argue Orton and H just put on a boring, lifeless match. What was essentially a match decades in the making, Sting vs Triple H at WrestleMania 31 was a major disappointment. Fans waited their entire lives for Sting to make his debut in a WWE ring, so you can imagine how crazy it was to see the icon show up at Survivor Series to help drive away the Authority. This, however, put Sting on a collision course with Triple H, which definitely had WWE vs WCW undertones. Sting's massive star power was enough to get fans excited for his WrestleMania match, but unfortunately, neither side could deliver. Both men are past their primes and simply can't perform like they used to. Even NWO and DX battling it out couldn't save the match, and of course Triple H winning was predictable yet undesirable. Brock Lesnar vs Goldberg at WrestleMania 20 was one of the worst matches in wrestling history, despite the massive hype surrounding it. Two of WWE's most popular superstars at the time, who just so happened to be real-life titans, were set to go at it. You didn't even need good promos to sell this match, because who didn't want to see these two clash? Now the thing is, everybody knew both of these guys were on their way out after WrestleMania. Goldberg's contract was up, and Lesnar had decided to move on from wrestling, and the crowd wasn't afraid to show their anger. The match itself was also a huge disappointment. The first few minutes had literally zero action, and the rest of it was nothing spectacular. Even guest referee Stone Cold couldn't save it from being a colossal failure. And those are 10 matches that didn't live up to the hype. Have any matches that you think should be on here? Let me know down below. Also, be sure to subscribe and check out some other videos.